Tonight's race at Martinsville Speedway was full of hard racing, hairpin turns, and headaches for some of our playoff contenders. The championship 4 is set. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Just got done watching the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway. Not the Xfinity race, the Cup race, named the Xfinity 500. Man, that's confusing. Sellout crowd at Martinsville Speedway for the second fall race in a row. 6 playoff drivers battling for 2 Championship 4 spots. Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson won the first 2 races of this round. They had nothing to worry about today. But Byron, Ryan Blaney had points leads to protect, while Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Truex Jr, Chris Buescher were ready to throw haymakers or potentially Hail Marys if worse came to worse. Lots to get to tonight, of course. The points, the playoffs. We'll look at some of the top finishers tonight. We'll put this race on the groovy gauge towards the end, but let's start with this. In the round of 8, it's not good enough to just be good. You have to be great, especially if you enter this round at a points disadvantage. Ryan Blaney began these playoffs as the 12 seed out of 16. He had 1 win all regular season, and it came all the way back in May in the Coca-Cola 600. It was a dominant win, an impressive crown jewel victory. Capped off a huge day for Team Penske, but then that 12 team went ice cold over the summer. Ryan Blaney failed to score a single top 5 the 12 regular season races after that Charlotte win. He was slumping coming into these playoffs, and the chatter was all about how Ford, specifically Penske, Stewart-Haas Racing, were lagging behind the other key partner teams. When I made my playoff predictions 9 weeks ago, I had Ryan Blaney getting eliminated in the first round, and I wasn't alone. I certainly didn't expect Ryan Blaney to win 2 playoff races and qualify for his first ever Championship 4. Not this year, of all years. His teammate, the defending champion Joey Logano, managed only 1 win all season long. He was bounced in the round of 16. Ryan Blaney has carried the banner for Team Penske these past 9 weeks, and especially in this round of 8. He was 8th out of 8 on the playoff grid 3 weeks ago. Good would not be good enough. Ryan Blaney had to be great. He was fantastic in the round of 8. Every contender in the garage circles the round of 8 weeks, if not months in advance. Las Vegas, Homestead, Miami, Martinsville. Ryan Blaney outperformed everyone in this round. He's through to the Championship 4 for the first time in his still young career. Congratulations to Ryan Blaney. He was the best driver and car on the racetrack today, and you could argue for much of last week's race, he was the best car and driver on the track. In just the stages alone, Ryan Blaney has collected 38 points the past 2 weeks. Finished second last week, was 1 position better today. Congratulations to Ryan Blaney, a clutch victory. Didn't panic in stage 3 when pit strategy mired him back around 10th, 11th, 12th place, deeper in the field than he'd been almost all day. Saved fuel, saved tires, charged through the field in the final 50, 60 laps. Was passing everyone left and right. A veteran championship caliber performance by Ryan Blaney, Jonathan Hassler, the entire number 12 team today. I apologize, Ryan Blaney fans, for doubting him 9 weeks ago. Before I talk about the rest of the Championship 4 and also the 4 drivers who were eliminated, let's look at the top finishers tonight. Shout out Eric Almirola. Really, all of Stewart-Haas Racing. Chase Briscoe got himself a top 5 as well, but Eric Almirola yesterday morning announced his retirement from full-time NASCAR Cup Series racing. For real this time, presumably. A lot of emotions this weekend. He was able to bottle them up and put on a vintage performance. Old tires, needing to save fuel, held on for second. Impressive stuff. Great run for Eric Almirola today. A great day for Team Penske with Logano finishing 5th, Todd Gilliland 9th, and Ford all around. I mentioned Chase Briscoe. You've got both Chris Buescher and Todd Gilliland finishing inside the top 10. Great stuff. Although Joey Logano did provide perhaps the low light of the race, in my opinion, when he just drove straight through Ty Gibbs after a restart racing inside the top 5. I didn't say it first, but I saw many on social media speculating whether Logano was kind of trying to take out Denny Hamlin, who was just ahead of Ty Gibbs, to make his teammate Ryan Blaney's path to the Championship 4 a little bit easier. I'm not going to pass judgment on something I can't prove, but I do remember Martinsville 2015 when Joey Logano got some help from his then teammate Brad Keselowski. Either way, did not affect Denny Hamlin's finishing position, didn't affect Joey Logano's either. Solid top 5 for him. I want to shout out Harrison Burton as well, another Ford. Finished 15th after getting caught up in some goofy wreck shenanigans with Alex Bowman. I think Austin Dillon, a few others were involved. He was a lap down early on in this race, battling for the free pass. Came all the way back to finish 15th. A solid race for the young driver. But there's a good look at your top finishers. You can see some playoff drivers highlighted in yellow scattered throughout the top 15. Let's go, I guess, just in finishing order to Denny Hamlin, who finished a solid 3rd. Too little, too late, I'm afraid, to overcome the power steering failure that ruined Denny Hamlin's solid Homestead Miami Speedway effort a week ago. But really, this round didn't get off to a great start for Denny Hamlin. Again, you can't just be good, you have to be great. And at Las Vegas in the round of 8 opener, Denny Hamlin was just good. He finished 7th of the 8 playoff drivers in that race, barely held on to a top 10 finish, lost some key points to the cut line. He was in a very precarious points position heading into Homestead Miami, and obviously when they had the mistake, that put him in a huge deficit. Another great season for Denny Hamlin, but for the 2nd year in a row, he finishes 5th in the round of 8 and will be the first driver out of the championship 4. Everyone talks about best drivers in NASCAR history without a Cup Series championship. Denny Hamlin, statistically speaking, is probably at the top of that list. He has 51 career wins, 3 Daytona 500s, and in the modern era, he's made it to the championship 4 times. That trails only, I believe, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr. I know it hurts to come up just short once again, but he's in the mix every single year. Denny Hamlin will be back again next season. I have no doubt in my mind. They showed up today. Give them that. Qualified top 5, ran top 5, won a stage, finished 3rd. At least they went down swinging for the fences. I can't say the same about a few other names on this list we'll get to in a moment. I'll gloss over Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. Good finishes today, but their focus has already shifted towards Phoenix. Behind them, finishing 8th, Chris Buescher. Solid result, but he was the only driver coming into today that truly needed to win, and they never really came close to sniffing the lead today. The team employed an aggressive pit strategy in the second half of this race. I believe he pit either for fuel only or 2 tires, gained a bunch of track position, and actually did a good job holding on to a spot inside the top 10, but wasn't enough to get the victory. To me, this round of 8 proved that RFK Racing is still a half step away from being a legitimate contender. They're capable of turning it on for stretches, but late in the season, round of 8, everyone's got this circled. Every point matters. This team gave off just happy to be here vibes. Like at Las Vegas, they were the only playoff team to not run inside the top 10. And then at Homestead Miami last week, Chris Buescher was 25th most of the day, just awful. Even today, strategy got them a top 10, but I don't think they had a top 10 car. Tremendous season all around for Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, all of RFK Racing, but this round showed they still have a little maturing to do, perhaps. Roush has been around for a long time, but RFK, the K part of this team, which I feel like is the most influential part of this team these days, that's still new. This is still only their 2nd year. So a lot of things being figured out. Huge strides this year. They're just a half step away. Let's keep going. Finishing 12th, Martin Truex Jr. We're going to tell our grandchildren about the epic 19-team collapse of 2023. 1 top 10 these entire playoffs. Did y'all know this was only his 2nd top 15 of these playoffs? We're talking about the regular season champion. A team that beautifully exemplified consistency all regular season long. Awful playoffs and an awful round of 8. Las Vegas was fine, but bad pit strategy cost them important points. At Homestead Miami Speedway, there was a bad pit stop, some bad luck, a blown motor, DNF. And today, the driver sped on pit road, cost them all their track position. They didn't have the speed to contend with Hamlin or Blaney. At least it didn't appear in the first half. But they could have at least made things interesting if Truex hadn't made the same mistake Ryan Preece made here in the spring, I believe, from the same pit box. Just a disappointing playoffs all around for Martin Truex Jr. Kind of the polar opposite of Ryan Blaney. You know, Ryan Blaney was the 12 seed. No one had high expectations. He'd struggled all summer. Boom, he turns it on. He's in the championship 4. Martin Truex Jr., great summer, high expectations, tons of playoff points. Bottom falls out, collapse. Very, very disappointing. Just behind Martin Truex Jr. in the finishing order, though, is William Byron. I mentioned headaches at the top of the show. I swear, every time NBC cut to Rudy Fugle on the 24 pit box, he was going like this, just, oh, yeah, we've all been there, bro. I get you. They were terrible today. They caught a bad break in qualifying, sure, started, I think, 16th, but they couldn't go forward in stage one. They had to watch as not only Ryan Blaney, but also Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. collected near max stage points. Suddenly, Byron's 30-point cushion had been whittled down to nearly nothing. In the closing laps of this race, the 24 team was counting cars, trying to figure out how many more points Denny Hamlin was going to gain, making sure Byron didn't lose any points. William Byron got lapped in the closing laps of this event. For much of this race, it felt like his future was out of his hands. That car was evil. But they held on. They should be thanking their lucky stars that Ryan Blaney won this race. If Denny Hamlin had won, considering the stage points Blaney had earned, Byron would be out. 6 wins. Breakout season, fantastic year. William Byron was this close to being eliminated in the round of 8, eerily similar to how Kevin Harvick was eliminated in this exact race 3 years ago. Byron hangs on, though, by just a few points. William Byron, welcome to the Championship 4. Ryan Blaney's first Championship 4, William Byron's first Championship 4. They join Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, who are both in their second Championship 4s, right? So a lot of Championship 4 inexperience next week. That'll be fun to watch. There's only one playoff driver we haven't mentioned yet, and that's Tyler Reddick. Just a day to forget. He was below the cut line when this round started, but, solid Las Vegas, finished 8th, 3rd last weekend at Homestead, Miami. Reddick was within spitting distance of the cut line, needed a great day today, a top 10, a top 5 effort, but things went south in qualifying, honestly. When Reddick spun out on his second lap, he started 19th, mid-pack. That's dicey. Could not go forward, and if anything, as the race went on, he started to go backwards. He finished today, I believe, in 26th place. Not even close to advancing, just disappointing. Like RFK, 2311 Racing, I'd argue, is on or even slightly ahead of schedule. Both young teams with new leadership. 2 wins this season for Reddick, best average finish of his career. Still a great season, made it to the round of 8, but like RFK, I think 2311 is just a half step away from being legitimate championship contenders. As things stand currently, look who's back in the Championship 4. A Joe Gibbs Racing car, a Team Penske car, and a couple of Hendrick Chevys. The usual suspects. Before long, an RFK Ford will make it. A 2311 Toyota will make it. Trackhouse will get in more consistently. But for now, it's the usual suspects once again. We'll talk much more about the Championship 4 this week leading into Phoenix. For now, I want to focus again on Martinsville. Great race today. Some great moments like Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin, that one restart, trading the lead, crossing each other over, almost taking each other out a couple different points. Goodyear brought a new tire this time around. The weather was warmer, so you could see rubber being put down. Rubber was stacking up. It was getting pretty sketchy. The conditions weren't great. But that's when NASCAR racing is at its best. When the drivers and cars are uncomfortable, are unstable, that's when the most action picks up. This race didn't have quite the same punch that last night's Xfinity Series race did, but this race also didn't devolve into a silly, goofy, unserious crash fest the way last night's Xfinity Series race devolved. The end of this race was tense as well, with Ryan Blaney carving his way through the top 5 to get the lead. Denny Hamlin not too far behind him, but not making up enough points to catch William Byron in the standings. Byron doing just enough to keep Denny Hamlin at arm's length. The best driver and team won today. I hope that crowd out at Martinsville Speedway enjoyed the action they saw. Let's put this race on the groovy gauge. My scores in these playoffs, I know, have mostly fallen within a very similar range. I hate to do it again, but this was just another good race. Probably the best Cup Series Martinsville action we've seen since the Next Gen car debuted. Still very hard to pass, still work to be done. I heard Denny Hamlin call for more horsepower once again. We'll see. We'll see if NASCAR and the OEMs finally cave. But today's race was decent with all the points on the line. It was very intriguing in my opinion. Curveballs were thrown like Truex's speeding penalty. Then later he had the car fall off the jack. Byron just not showing up today. Gosh, how many spots is he going to lose? How close is this cut line going to be? Blaney with the walk-off win into the Virginia sunset. I enjoyed this race. I'm going to go nice and even, 75%, 3/4 of the way full. Let me know what kind of score you would give the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway down in the comment section below. Good race, good times. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR every day, all week long, all year long. Yes, even into the off season here on Out of the Groove. And thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. Gosh, just 1 week to go. So much to cover though, leading into Phoenix. Going to be a great championship weekend. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll catch you later. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Oh, and happy Halloween, just a few days away.